Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my classroom. Here I am on Thursday at 2 o'clock. Here I am, broadcasting from Chesapeake, Virginia. And I'm sending a message out to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and to all the people in all the world that's watching. So say hello, and I'll have the chat room on pretty soon. I'm in the studio with my wife, Gloria, today.
Welcome.
And she'll be monitoring the broadcast and also checking the chat room. I'll put the chat room on now for those that want to check in and say hi. Okay, the chat room's live. And today, I said I was out. I go out plein air on the weekends. And last week we did pine cone. And right near the pine cone, I found a beautiful maple leaf. So I thought, well, I just want to continue on with that little exercise of painting nature. So today I'm going to do the maple leaf. That's today's presentation, and this is a good subject for a paint along. If you want to paint along with me, I'll give you the information and then join in and also look at my Facebook page. So right now, today is a good exercise on mixing colors for the leaf, and also I've got an interesting way to do the brush stroke. And I think those will be interesting today. Color mixing and brush strokes, which you can always exercise and always learn something about. Okay, so let's go to my painting table. And let me get started. I'll move my mic over, turn on the light. Okay. That is a picture of the maple leaf that I found lying on the ground, and I took a photograph of it. And of course, that was in the broadcast announcement. That picture right there. So isn't that a beautiful shape? It's almost a natural size. And I've gone ahead and also did a drawing in my sketchbook of the maple leaf. Now that's a pencil sketch. Now both of those will be available on my website. Now I made a little change today to make it possibly a little easier for some folks. You can go to my website, everestwatercolors.com, and on my website you look at the navigation bar on the left, and you go to Live Classroom 2023. And if you look on the left-hand side, the left column, right below my picture there, you'll see paint along links. And those are the links that will take you to the photograph, and another link that will take you to the Facebook page where you can also download and put your paint along, or have some comments or have some questions about it that we can communicate. I'm also going to have the links of the photograph and the drawing. I'll have those in the comments of the description of this video today. Now what I did, this is actually the way I do it now. Here's the actual leaf. I just thought I'd let you take a look at it. This is the actual leaf itself. Isn't it beautiful? And what I do is that when I collect a leaf like this, I put it in a book and make sure it dries out. Then I store it in an envelope. I store it in this happens to be a baggie, a large gallon baggie, but I store them in there with a piece of paper, and they last a long time. I do that. Here's one I got on this side. There's an oak leaf on this side. So that's how I keep these stored, and they'll last a long time. I've got leaves I've had for 10 years ago, and they're still there. And it preserves it, and also keeps it in good shape as a good reference. Okay, so what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do today, I'm going to draw the leaf. So first of all, let me get my leaf out of the way here. So I think you'll have a lot of fun drawing and painting along with me on this. So what I'm going to do, let me get the picture up here. Okay. Okay, I got the reference on the right side, and I'm going to be painting, drawing over here. So, and I've got a drawing pencil here with the heavy lead in it, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to use a piece. This is a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it's about the same size as the paper that the photograph is on. I'm going to start here at one area. So I'm going to start here at the right corner here. Just if I turn the page this way, that's really the top of the leaf right here. I'll start at the top of the leaf. We'll go down to the right. And first of all, before I get started, I'm going to kind of size it out a little bit. So the top will be here, and then I've got to see. I'll make the going down here. I'll make the bottom of the leaf right here, and then I got to go pretty far to the right, over to this side. And I'll mark that area, and then I'll move to the left, and I'll mark that area over here. Now the intermediate, there's 2 intermediate points here also. These 2 wing, I call them 2 wing points. This pink point here is about halfway between this point and here is this one. So we'll come down to halfway, and we'll put a point over here. These are reference points, so we know how I'm going to draw this. And over here, this one's a little less than half. So it's about over here. Okay. All right. So I got my paper oriented, and I've got my reference points that I took, so I know that I got the image will fit on the page that I'm drawing on. So that's very important. You get the sizing down. Okay. So I'm going to start up here at the top, right, the top of the leaf over here. That's where I'm going to start the drawing. Okay. So I'm going to come down, and don't worry about every little. The most important part is those beautiful. I like these. I call them swoops, and this is exactly how I'm going to paint. Right now, I'm painting with a pencil. So I get those nice sharp points. And I'm down here at this point here right now. Now I come down this side, and there's a little piece sticking out there. And then there's another little curve right here. And then I'll go one more, a little bit longer to the end point. And I've got it marked over here, so I just got to connect the points there. Now I go down to the bottom. I've got a little curve here. And I've got the big curve up here to the middle point. Okay. I'm halfway there. All right, so then I'm going to continue on. Now, I've also noticed that if I go on this way, I'm going to continue on from the bottom here, where I am, the bottom of the leaf. I'm going to continue on up to the other side. And I've got this end point over here. So I've got intermediary point there. And I've got a little curve here. So that's the far point over here on the left side, okay? Now I've got a curve here. Another point, and I've got another curve, and now I'm almost up to here. I got this one side one over here. This side one over here. I'll do another curve up to that point. So you know what I like about the maple leaf is it's most leaves, they have this nice swooping curve in their structure. So here I'm going to come down this part of the leaf here. And then it curves in. It goes another little curve to another point. And we're almost home. And I got a little curve here. And I got one more to go to the final end point. I'm at this point here. It's just one more mark. Okay, well, there's the drawing here, and it looks pretty good as far as the shape is concerned. I'm checking the shape of this section. I got the wings okay. I got these sections over here, and I've got all those wonderful little points that go in here into the structure of the leaf. Now, the other thing I always like is the stem. You can see the stem down here. It comes at the bottom of the leaf, the stem of the leaf. So that's like it's got a little curve to it, and it's got a little knob at the end. I'll just fill that in with a little, make that solid. Now the other part of the leaf I love is the what I call the ribs, or the ribs of the leaf. They're like little limbs. So I can draw those in too. Let's start with the center one first. The one that goes all the way up the top here, from the bottom to the top. That's the main vein, or the main stem. Okay, we'll paint that in also. And then off to each little point, the two main points now are the ones that go off to the right, and there's one that goes off to the left. So the one off to the right is over here, and the one to the left goes this side. Now there's this main one here. Didn't want to leave that one out. That one here, I can correct that one. It goes over just from here, goes up to there. Okay. So I'll take a eraser. That little point there. And there's one that comes across here. So these connect, these connect, these connect, these connect. Those are the main points. Okay. Then there's some minor ones here that go along. Every one of these points seems to have a little vein or a little structure that goes to it. You can see from the photograph. So we're going to paint some of those in today too. So that's the structure of the maple leaf. You've got the end points, and then we got the veins, or the what I call the branches inside. And if you, I've noticed also the way when you look at one of these the veins here on the leaf, they almost look like the limbs of a tree, because you have the main trunk, and then you have the small branches that go off to the side, and they go off to these points that go around on the perimeter of the leaf. Okay, so what I do, what's important when I do a drawing is also it gives me familiarity with the shapes. Okay, by drawing the leaf, now I know basically where to go as far as the shape is concerned, and also was practicing brush strokes here, because this circular motion here that I did with the pencil, I'm gonna make a brush stroke similar to that. Just by doing that, I'll make that nice smooth curve. Make those nice connections. Okay. So okay, that completes the drawing. Now I've done this drawing exercise, and I've got the drawing here in my sketchbook, and that's the drawing you'll see on my website. And one more here, I'm going to bring over my painting pad. Okay, now let me get rid of the. I'm going to take this off the painting board. I'm going to take off that picture. Okay. So right now, now we got the drawing. Now this is on a 1/8 sheet piece of 140-pound Gemini watercolor paper. It measures about 11 by 8, 11 inches long, about 8.5 inches wide. So that's about the size that I did it. And I had to make it a little bit smaller because of it wouldn't fit on the leaf wouldn't fit on this page. So I had to make it just a little bit smaller to make it fit. So sizing is very important when you draw. Now let me give you a close-up of that. I did this drawing on the painting paper, very similar to what I did on the 8.5. Okay. All right. So let's look over the material today. I'm going to be using several colors today in the watercolors. I'm going to be using yellow lemon at the top here, then Pyrrole red, Cobalt blue, and burnt sienna. And I may use Quinacridone violet. Depends on the background. I have to work on the background color today too. So anyway, those are the main colors I'll use for the leaf. Then I'm going to be using Silver Brush Red Sable brushes today. Those are Red Sable. And we'll introduce those to you today. The Holbein Watercolors is what I'm using. And I'll also be using the palette in the bottle Everett's Watercolors, Everett's Palette in a Bottle dot sprayer, which is sold exclusively on Everett's Watercolors. And here again, here's my link to my website, everettswatercolors.com. And there's the live classroom, which is on my website. Then you go to that, and there'll be a paint along links, which are on that live classroom page on the left-hand column. Okay, I'll put that aside. All right, so these brushes now, these are red sables. The red sable Kolinsky is a real fine brush. It's professional artists use them all the time, along with synthetics. But I use these quite often when I want to do a nice painting. They're natural hair. They hold the thing of the difference with them. They hold a lot of paint. You can see the belly on them. They're nice. They're thicker. Got a thick belly to it compared to a synthetic brush is sort of flat. This has got a lot more hairs in there, so it holds a lot more paint. And I can show that to you today. I had a when we get the paint weighted up here. All right, so I'm going to start mixing up some colors. I'm going to put a little bit of lemon yellow over here in the corner. So we'll get the paintbrush wet and get the palette loaded here. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of Pyrrole red. Just a little bit. We don't need much red. Red is very powerful, but we'll use a little bit today. Get a little interest out there. And before I go up north there to the blues, I'll pick up a little bit of burnt sienna. A nice little puddle here going. So I'm using a 3/4 inch natural hair brush, and I also have the natural hair. I have a half inch natural hair brush, and I'm going to be using the number 10 round. These are all Silver Brush. This is a designer round. These are all Silver Brush brushes, which are also located on my website. All right, so I'm going to just watch out the brush just a little bit. Now, I'm going to be going into these colors, and I'm going to, what I'm going to do now, I did a drawing from the tier down, but I'm going to start, based on what I saw, I'm going to start the painting from this point right here. I'm going to start at the bottom of the leaf, right here where the stem, right where it meets the stem. That's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to load the brush. I'll load up some burnt sienna, maybe with just a touch of yellow ochre. I mean, the yellow lemon in there. Now, when I load the brush, you'll notice I'm going to load it from the side. This loads up a lot. Okay, and when I load this brush up, let me move this out of the way for a second. Now this is a quarter sheet of watercolor paper. I go up here to the top, and you can see here as I start. I can do a whole string of water. With this brush really holds a lot of paint. You can see the demonstration right here. Just one brush load, I can go all the way down to the bottom of the paper. Okay. You can't do that well with a synthetic brush. It doesn't hold that much paint, so you have to go back and resupply. So that's the advantage of a natural brush, is it holds a lot of paint. Take a little bit of red. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom. So I want to make sure you know where I'm starting. I'm starting at the bottom of the leaf, right here where the stem is. And I'm going to move this way. Move up to the top. So I'm going to make a sharp edge to the brush. Load the brush from the side. Make sure I have a nice sharp edge. I'll even rub the paintbrush next to the palette to give a nice sharp edge. It's just like a razor, like a razor blade. How sharp that is. Okay, now I'm going to lay it down here on this side. I'm going to lay it on the side, and I'm going to go up to the point, and I'm going to do that nice stroke. But I'll come down and then go up. Come down and go up. I get that nice smooth curve there. I like that. Love it. Now I can go back and make a little correction. Add some more paint. Yeah, well, I'm using natural hair because those are interested in natural hair brushes. If you all you have is a synthetic brush, you can do that. It doesn't matter what brush you use. I'm just using the natural hair today because it's in my repertoire and I love to use it. And I also want to demonstrate its use because it's very useful in all kinds of paintings. So now I'm going to pick up a little more yellow lemon now. A little more yellow lemon. Now notice I'm not going to rinse out the brush. I want to leave the brush loaded with color. So I come to this point where I left off, and I'm going to curl up around that coat. Notice the brush stroke I'm using. I'm going around the corner. So I'm right-handed, so I go this way. Pick up some more color. That's all I'm doing. I'm going to the palette, pick up more color. I'm not really picking up. I'm not really rinsing the brush out. Just picking up more color. So I go to this point here. I put a little bit of red in my paintbrush now. And I come down. I love this is a stroke I love. This part here, you come down, and you come down and get that nice curve. Pick up a little more yellow now. I'm gonna rinse out the brush so I don't get more yellow in the more yellow in the brush. I want to make sure I change color. So I add a little more yellow to this section right here, just a little, just give it a color change. Okay, right where I left off now, I'm going to load the brush some more with some more yellow and a little more burnt sienna. Now I left here, now I'm going to come down. I'm going to use that side of the brush. Then I come down to that little corner, and I do a curve right around that edge. Okay, and I follow that nice. I call it a loop-de-loop curve, or whatever you want to call it. Now I'm putting some red in the center here. So I'm just adding color. This is the fall leaf, so I'm putting some fall colors in there. Now I'm going back and pick up some more of that yellow. Yellow is going to turn that into orange. That's fine. All right, so I'll pick up where I left off. Start that point, and I come around. I'm following my drawing. This is the stroke I wanted to tell you about. I've discovered that by doing the drawing, that I could follow that curve very simply with the brush. Now this has a longer side to it, so I can use the edge of the brush here. But then I can come down. I come down and do that little curve now. Here's a little curve. And it goes up, and I curve again, and it goes up. I love that. I love that curves. I mean, that's the part of the leaf that I really like is the characteristic of the maple leaf. A lot of leaves have the same kinds of shapes. I load, but I get some more burnt sienna in here. Get more burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow. So I'm making, I don't use one color. I have a mixture of colors. I make that nice sharp edge again. This comes up. I'm going to go to the point. Now I'm going to use that curve stroke or a swooping stroke that I like. Come to the point. Then I'm going to come down along that edge. There's a little curve here. I make that little swoop, little swooping motion. There. So I like to follow on down, pick up some more yellow. I'm introducing more color into the leaves. I'm trying to make a little colorful, a little more texture. Now, what I can do now, just to be not different, but just to add a little more color to this, I can take a little bit of that cobalt blue. I don't want to put any green in here. I could put green. I could mix the yellow with that, but I want to put a little bit of red in with that blue. And come up with just a touch of purple. That's graying out on me a little bit. So I'm going to pick up just a touch of purple. Okay. So now I've got a little bit of blue and red on my brush. So I can go up here and do a little bit of curve on this. I don't like that color very much. So I'm going to go back to the burnt sienna and the reds. Load up the brush. paint over that. That'll change the color. I just painted over that little purple mix I made, which is a little too dull. So I want to make a little brighter color there. Okay, come along the edge of that curve there. I'm going to come down, and I'm going to do that I call it a swooping curve. It's the last one I see on the painting today. So come down. I'm going to do a little curve all around here at that point, and then come down to the bottom edge. Now I use the edge of the brush now, coming around that corner. Okay. Now I can bring it around. Now everything painted in now. Now I can go ahead and I can play with the color a little bit. Okay. Got the colors in there, and I think that red is a little bit carried away, so I'm going to make a little bit of yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in that. Kind of loose. Bring that together, make it more orangey looking. So I'm going to go back over, put a layer of yellow on top of that red. So now I can build a little bit of texture just by going over. So I can go around now and fill in some of the spots, not fill in, but kind of go over, paint over some of the spots I want to improve on. Give it a little bit of texture. But I've got the outline. The outline turned out really, really good. I like the outline the way it's happening. It looks like a maple leaf. Now I'm working a little bit on the color. So I'm putting a little more of that burnt sienna now around because the color lightened up on me a little bit. Remember, watercolor will lighten up about 30% when you put it down. It'll look, when it's wet, it'll look like it's dark, but once it dries, it starts to lighten up. Now this section over here, what's that? Flash. Yeah, it's just comes from experience. You'll notice that when the watercolor does dry, it dries a little bit lighter, 30 to 40%. And so therefore you can go back and put a second layer on or add more pigment to your painting. Okay, now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to have a little fun with some spray bottle. I'll use my palette in a bottle, a sprayer, just with water in. And I'm just going to take it and just going to, the paper is still wet. Paper is still wet. You can see the shine on there. You see the shine, a little gloss. And that's okay, because I'm just going to drop a few drops in there. That'll give me some texture. And that'll make the paint kind of, make some marks on there and so forth, okay? And that'll be fine. Kind of move it around, get some texture on that leaf. That leaf's been laying on the ground for a while. But while that's drying now, and I can also take a palette in a bottle dot sprayer with yellow lemon in it, okay? And I can get that. If I want to add a little more color to that, I can add a little more, put some dots in there. Let me put some dots of yellow in there. Let that kind of move around, and move it up and down. Let it flow. So I can kind of play with the texture that way. Give it a little character. Got a beautiful color to it, though. I like that orangey look. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we're going to paint on the stem. So I'm going to take this number 10 round. This is a blend. It's not natural hair, but it's got natural hair in it, but it's got a blend of natural hair and other fibers. But it's a designer round, which is a very nice brush. Comes to a nice point. So what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to darken up my brown a little bit. I'll put that cobalt blue now in with that burnt sienna, and I'll get a darker mix. And then what I'll do is come down here and I'll paint in that stem. maybe I won't use the dark all the way. I'll kind of do like a broken stroke. I'll have a dark and then maybe a little bit of lighter, then change the color to something else, like a broken stroke. And that way, you know, it's a little different. Okay. All right. Okay. Now I'm going to blow dry this. I'm going to turn the dryer on. Okay, well, I did some splattering on here with the dot spray bottle and add a little bit of lemon yellow on there just to give it a little change in color. And that's going to give me also some texture. There's a lot of water flowing over here now. Now, another thing I can do is take a tissue and there's some wet spot. I mean, some puddles here. So I can take a brush that's I'll take the take the 1/2 inch brush, and it's no water in it. It's just dry. So it'll be like a dry brush, well, a thirsty brush, and I'll pick up some of that extra moisture. There. Now it'll dry a little bit faster. That'll take care of some of the extra water that's in the brush. Possibly. We'll dry this off real good. I'm going to put the background in. I want to make sure the edges are dry. And check the back. Use the back of your hand to check the paper. Using the back of your hand, if it feels cool, then you know it's still damp. Everything's dry. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to mix up. I'm going to do a little background. And so first of all, let me get me some room on my palette over here. So use a sponge, clean out some of this paint just a little bit, and mix up a. I think what I'll use for the background, I think I'm going to use a violet. I'm going to use a violet color. I like that idea. Uh, so I'm going to use the 3/4 inch brush. I'll get all the old paint out of there, make sure it's clean. So I put it in a rinse bucket, wipe it out, make sure it's clean. Okay. All right, now we're going to mix up a new puddle. Get the palette clean also. Okay, get a nice clean working space. And I'll pick up a little bit of this Pyrrole red, a little bit of Cobalt blue, make me a violet. And I think also pick a little bit of Quinacridone violet. I got it right here in my palette, so I'll use that too. It'll give me a nice violet color. I add a little more to the blue side. I add a little blue. I want it to cool. We got the warm color of the leaf, which is oranges and browns and so forth. So I want a little bit. I want a little cooler temperature of the color in the background. So I'm going to put a little more blue into that mix to give it a bluish violet. So I got a little more cobalt to that. And before I put it on the paper, I'll test that a little bit. Yeah, a little more blue. And that's cooling it down. You see the colors changing. As I put more blue in there, it cools it down. That's it. I'm cooling the background down a little bit. A little more blue. Okay, that's more like it. All right. Okay, I got my mix and I tested it out and so forth. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take. Now this is a synthetic brush. This is. Well, I don't have to use that either. Let me go back to my spray bottle. What I'm going to do is use the spray bottle with the water. And I'm going to put just a little bit of water on the paper. Just some drops of water back here. That'll give me. It's almost like a wet on wet, but not exactly a wet on wet. But I put enough water moisture down here, so when I go into the paper, it's already got some moisture there. Now I go around the edges here very carefully. I'm using a 3/4 inch flat brush, and I'll go in here to these little corners and so forth. I'll start with the little corners. And brush out here to the water supply. Now, when by touching the edge of the leaf edge, it's also going to give me a little definition. Also, those two colors will mix together a little bit. It'll darken it up. It'll give me an edge. And if I wanted to smooth that out or soften it out a little bit, I could do that also. But I'm just going to go ahead and put it in. And so I started up here, so I got more water on this side. So I'll keep on going on this side. I'm going the opposite way I did when I did the leaf. I'm going backwards. It doesn't matter which way you go. I'm just going to go around the whole outside. And putting this little purple mixture. It's purple is contrasting color. It's the alternate contrast color to orange. So because it's got blue in it. Blue and purple are contrasting colors. So it'll give me a nice presentation with the gives me a little more contrast, not just in shapes but also in values. Show the edge over there. Okay, now I'm going to squirt a little more water down here on the bottom. So I'm doing a section at a time. I don't want to wet the whole area, but I want to do just a section at a time, and then get the paint on the paper, and then continue on. Now what I could do, you could change the color on the partial way down, or just continue on, or change the value. You can make it a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. But I'm just going to go ahead and put it in. I just want a contrasting color and a background color here to the painting today. I'm trying to control the amount of water in the paintbrush, but I want enough so it will flow on the paper. So you'll see a nice flow going here. It's going down, and I don't mind that one little bit of contrast and a little bit of texture in the background. That's fine. Most backgrounds have texture in. This could be. I could have made it green and made it into a forest in the background, but I decided to make him just a simplified background, give a little bit of color variation. And what I'm doing is I'm wiping off the edges here so that it doesn't flow back in on the painting. Keeps from yeah. Okay. I'm going to go back. We're going to go back and do one more step when I finish the background, because we still got to put the stems in. So we'll darken those up, and that'll make it look like a real maple leaf when we get finished. Okay. I'm spraying a little more water there to get it started. Help the paint to flow. Hey, I'm using. Remember, all I've done is I've used one brush. I thought I was going to use two today, but which I could have used two. I could use more than that. But I'm using just one brush, this 3/4 inch brush to do the whole painting. I did the, and I think that brush stroke around the contour of the shape, I found that to be very interesting. I practiced that one just to see how it would work, and I really liked the way it shaped the edge of the leaf. I call that a swooping stroke or curved stroke, or whatever you want to call it, but it's very effective. And I discovered that just by when I was doing the drawing. I said, well, hey, when I'm drawing, I do the same motion with the pencil as I do with the brush stroke. So the drawing helps you plan out how you're going to paint something, whether you're going to use whether you're going to use a flat brush, a round brush, or you're going to use a different kind of stroke there. So all those kinds of things. Now this part here, part of it had dried, so I'm going to re-wet this section now and kind of blend these two colors together, or these two sections together. And one can be a little lighter than the other. It doesn't matter. But you don't want, I don't want any sharp edges or any contrast edges in the background at this point. There, smooth that out. Okay, wipe off the edge. Keep that wetness away from the edge. Keep that wetness away from the painting. Okay, now let me dry. Oh, before I do that, no, that's okay. Yeah, I want to dry it. Okay, I'm going to dry the background. Okay, so I mixed up a violet color with a blue bias with more cool violet for the background. And paint around the background of the leaf. Here I'm wiping off the edge. And make sure it's nice and dry, because we're going to go back into the finishing touches on the leaf, but I'll make sure it's nice and dry. I'm going to play around with a couple texture techniques here in a few moments. We'll get this nice and dry first. Now check it with the back of my hand. Still a little damp. Feels a little cool, so you got to keep drying. Okay. Now double check myself. I use the back of my hand to test it. If it feels cool, it's a little cool down here, but that's okay because I'm going to play a little bit with the background. Let me check my my chat room. Diana, nice seeing you again. And Pepe Almost, thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate that. Let me see. Now, what I want to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of that color on the flat brush. This is that same color I used for the background. It's a mixture of cobalt blue and Pyrrole red. I also add a little bit of quinacridone violet. So what I want to do now, I'm going to cover up the leaf a little bit, just cover it up just a little bit. So I'll use a paper towel. And now I'm going to go in, I'm going to do just a little splattering on the background. I want to put some dots back there. So what you do, you load your brush, make sure you got it's more important you have more liquid in your brush to do this. But you want it so when you tap it, gonna get little dots here on the off the brush. Okay, we don't want to overdo that too much, but just here and there. And I'll bring that down here. We don't want to do it in just one place. You want to get you want to kind of get it everywhere. If you do it in one place, you want to move it around. A little bit of variety. Load the brush up a little bit more. I'm just tapping the brush, the loaded brush against my my fingertip. And then one more little spot here, maybe there. A little bit more up there. Let's take a look. Yeah, just a few drops around. That's fine. So adding a little texture to the background, so it's a little more interest back here. And I've avoided the. If you do get a little bit on the leaf structure, just pick it up before it dries and it's gone. Okay, it's all done. All right, now let's go back in and do some touch up. Now we're going. I'm going to paint the. If you look at the photograph, we have these dark veins in here. Okay, the dark veins of the maple leaf. So that's a characteristic of leaf when it captured. So, and that was part of my drawing also. So we're going to mix up a little darker color here. I'm going to use basically burnt sienna. Mix it in with a little bit of that violet color we have. That's fine. Don't want to use just burnt sienna. You want to mix it with something else. A little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, orange. Okay, now what we're going to do now is go ahead. Now, let me darken up this stem a little bit. So I'm going to go in here, darken the stem. So I'm adding a second layer on the stem. Okay, and then we're going to get I'm going to start with the main line. I call it a vein. It's a vein on the leaf. The main vein. This is the main one. It goes from here all the way to the top. We'll go here and all the way to the top. Okay. Then there's one that goes off to this branch goes to this section. The section of the leaf now, it goes from here, from this section, from the word, this section here, it intersects with the main branch out to the edge. Okay, I call it the main branch because that's the main vein. And then this one, there's one over here. This big one over here. So it'll go from the corner, intersect at the branch at the base, and then it will go all the way up to the top of there. Okay. Then there's two other big ones. There you got. Now this intersects here, very interesting. This intersection here goes from this section. I'm looking at the photograph, and I'm really just using the photograph as my reference now to kind of put these in to give a little more better characteristic. And this one over here is going to go from this section. Let's see the best way. Now I'm right-handed, so I move it around so I can go right-handed. If I'm right-handed, I'm going to go this way. So you move the painting depending on which way you want to move your arm or your hand. So it's better to use an arm rather than a finger. Don't use your wrist. Use your whole arm when you do a long stroke like this, from the shoulder, from the elbow on out. Move the whole arm. That'll give you much more consistency in getting a long line. Okay. There's a few more of these veins we want to put in here. Let's see. We'll put one out here on this one. There's one also here. So these major points has a vein that leads out there to them. That's part of the structure. They look like little trees. So you have the major limb, and then you got these little branches off to the side. And they kind of alternate. They don't go together. They alternate back and forth. This one here this one's interesting. It's got a little curve to it. They're not all straight. Some have little bends, little curves in them. Interesting. And there's one over here. I'll draw it this way. has a little curve to it. Let's see. Maybe this one's got a couple here. I'll put this one in. This is important. So these major points of the leaf have a connection to these veins. And that gives it the character of the leaf. And there's some minor ones out here. There's some real minor veins, I call them. And little really fine ones. So you can fine tune that as much as you want, but then that would get carried away. Okay. Let's give you a close up there of the veins I put in.
For those that can't see the comment, Pepe said, beautiful artwork.
Oh. Yeah, Pepe, beautiful artwork. And hello from Diana. Good. And I hope you can see it. I got a close up here. You'll see it also on the video. You'll see a picture of this also. Okay. So those are lights and dark. You don't make them all the same. As you follow the photograph, you'll see the vein structure in there. And then you come up with your own interpretation of that, okay? And you can see the texture on this leaf. I try to get the texture. It's all rough, and you know, I picked it off the ground, and it'll be have different marks on it and so forth. Been laying out on the ground for quite a while. You can make that as interesting as you want, okay? All right, let me put a frame around this. We're finished with this now, ready for signing. Okay. Let me straighten it up. All right. So there's the finished painting, all framed. So it looks pretty good. I like that. I did a earlier one for practice. Here's one here I did. You can see I used a little different colors here. I used a little more blue. I used blue. I said, well, this blue doesn't really want to go with it, but it does make it interesting. I used a little bit of green down here. So you can use almost any colors you want in your palette. And I did a light. I used a little bit of yellow here in the background. A little yellow with a little bit of yellow ochre with a little bit of burnt sienna for the background. Okay, so that was another version I did. Okay, let's go over to my main table. Okay, well that was a good exercise today, and that's a good paint along subject because it's something you'll find in nature. You can use this example. You can use the references I have here for your paint along, but you can pick up leaves on the ground as you see them now. Now's a good time of the year to find them. They're everywhere. There's lots of leaves out there, and I'm sure you've been picking them up or raking them up in your yard if you have been. But anyway, you have all kinds of subject matter in which to paint along. So those links I gave you, you can get to my website and download the photograph and download the drawing, and then post them on my Facebook page, my Everett's Watercolors art group. And I gave you the links to that also, and I'll show you how to get there. So hope you join me, and hope you will share with me some of your efforts and some of your activities. And let me know if you've done anything on my website, or done any paintings from my website, then post them on my Facebook page. Okay, I'll be back again next week on Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So
thumbs up.
So I'll see you then. I think I'm going to be doing a drawing next week again, and maybe some flowers. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.